Welcome back. This is day 8 of Thought.exe.
Day 8 already.
Yeah, time flies. So today, we're diving right into something I think everyone grapples with. Managing your mental energy, your attention.
Right. Getting a handle on it. We're thinking about it like, well, like your computer's task manager.
Exactly. That little window that pops up and shows you, okay, this is what's running, this is eating up all the power.
Uh-huh. And our minds, they're doing pretty much the same thing, juggling all these different mental tasks.
Some you're actively aware of, the stuff you're trying to focus on, your open tabs,
Mm-hmm. But then there's all that other stuff running the
the
background.
background apps, worries, habits, things you're not even consciously thinking about maybe.
Precisely. And they are definitely using up resources, your mental RAM, your CPU cycles, if you will.
So the idea today is to, become more aware of what's running and maybe learn to manage it better.
Yeah, exactly. We've been looking into how the brain works, how habits form, trying to understand that internal landscape.
Okay, let's start with the hardware then. The brain itself, it's not fixed. Right, that was a key point from some of the sources.
Absolutely not fixed. That BBC piece and the Healthline article really hammered home neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change.
It can literally rewire itself based on, based on what we do.
Exactly. And it's not passive. You can actively choose what inputs you focus on. It's like consciously deciding, okay, I'm going to install this mental software, or I need to uninstall that old program.
Like the neuroscientist in that clip mentioned, consistent mental effort, like meditation in that study they talked about.
Yeah, that can lead to visible, measurable changes in the brain structure. It's quite amazing.
It really makes you think about what you're feeding your mind consistently, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And that Rewire Your Brain excerpt, it broke down how different parts have different jobs.
Right, like the left side for details, analysis,
Uh-huh. And the right more for the big picture, the holistic view.
and then the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah,
That's like the manager.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, it handles the executive functions, planning, focusing attention, stopping yourself from doing something impulsive. It's managing those applications.
So different parts handling different kinds of processing. Makes sense.
And that excerpt also had that phrase, cells that fire together, wire together.
Ah, yes. Simple but powerful.
It really is fundamental. It just means the more you think a certain thought or do a certain action, the stronger that neural pathway becomes.
Like carving a path in the woods.
Exactly. And the Motivation Hub video echoed that too. How much of our personality, our behavior just becomes these memorized programs running automatically.
Like driving to work. You don't even think about it after a while.
Perfect example. That's a well-worn neural pathway, a mental program running on autopilot, saving you conscious effort.
Okay, so the brain is adaptable hardware wired by repetition. What about the power source? Attention and energy. That feels like the CPU and RAM analogy you mentioned.
Definitely. And just like a computer, if you have too many tabs, open, tasks, worries, distractions, social media notifications.
Everything slows to a crawl.
Right, you feel scattered, you can't focus, processing power gets maxed out.
So is the answer just fewer tabs?
Partly, yes, but it's also about understanding that our brains actually benefit from periods of, well, unfocusing.
I'm focusing, like zoning out.
Sort of. The Healthline article talked about things like doodling, activities where your mind wanders a bit.
How's that help?
It seems to activate something called the default mode network. Think of it like your brain's background maintenance cycle.
Okay.
When you're not actively focused on an external task, this network kicks in, connecting different ideas, consolidating memories, maybe even solving problems creatively.
So that's why you sometimes get great ideas in the shower or on a walk.
Exactly. You're giving your brain the space to do that background processing. It's not idle time. It's actually really productive time.
That connects to something I saw on that Reddit thread. Someone said slowness is a form of self-respect.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, like not constantly rushing your mental processes,
Yeah.
giving things time, preventing burnout maybe.
I think that's spot on. It ties into not constantly redlining your mental CPU. We feel this pressure, don't we, to be on all the time.
Totally. Constant productivity.
But it's often unsustainable. Allowing those moments of slowness, letting the system cool down, actually makes your focus time more effective.
Right. Okay, so managing the active tabs, allowing for some background processing. What about those really persistent background apps? Habits.
Ah, yes, habits. They are the ultimate background apps, aren't they? The Power of Habit book, the Vice President for Research blog,
Yeah.
they both talked about this.
They run automatically, consuming energy, but often without conscious thought.
Exactly. And that blog post laid out the habit loop really clearly. You've got the cue, the routine, and the reward.
Cue, routine, reward. Okay.
So some trigger in your environment, the cue, kicks off an automatic behavior, the routine.
Like your phone buzzing.
Right. That's the cue. The routine is picking it up and checking it.
And the reward is what? Creating, seeing a notification, distraction.
Could be anything, really. A hit of dopamine from a potential message, temporary relief from boredom. Whatever it is, it reinforces that loop.
Yeah.
Makes you more likely to do it next time the cue appears.
So that's why they're so hard to break. They're wired in.
They are. But the good news from those sources is that you can become aware of the loops. You can consciously change them.
By changing the cue.
Often by changing the routine associated with the cue. The Healthline piece touched on this too. You keep the cue, maybe keep the reward, but swap out the behavior in the middle.
So if the cue is feeling stressed, instead of the routine being eat cookies, you swap in take 5 deep breaths.
Exactly. It takes conscious effort at first, like programming a new response, but eventually the new routine can become automatic.
And you can install good background apps too, right? Like that Reddit user. Journaling, reading, they became automatic.
Yeah, that was a great example. Small, consistent steps. Eventually, those positive actions became effortless background routines, freeing up mental energy. It's like upgrading your system's default programs.
Okay, this is painting a clear picture. So we have the hardware, the processing power, the background apps. How do we get better at managing it all? Being the task manager.
Right. Active management. The Better Up article had some really practical ideas here. One was focusing on your strengths first.
Strengths. Why start there?
Think of it like running the programs, work well first. It builds momentum, you get some quick wins, build confidence, then tackle the stuff that needs more work or feels harder.
Okay, that makes sense. Like clearing the easy tasks first. What else?
Decluttering, both mentally and environmentally.
Decluttering. Getting rid of stuff that's just taking up space.
Exactly. Letting go of thoughts, worries, maybe even commitments that are no longer serving you. It's like freeing up disk space on your mental hard drive.
Less clutter, better performance. Sounds familiar.
It creates room for new things, reduces the drag on the system, and this connects directly to another point they made. Learning to say no.
Oh, that's a big one. Saying no to new tasks.
Pretty much. Saying no to taking on too many new tasks, new background processes. Every time you say yes to something.
You're implicitly saying no to something else. Your time, your focus.
Exactly. It's about protecting your resources. Setting boundaries is crucial to prevent that mental overload, that system crash.
Which brings us to self-care, I guess. That was in Better Up too.
Absolutely essential. Self-care isn't fluff, it's system maintenance. It's how you recharge the battery. Rest, exercise, things you enjoy, they prevent the whole system from freezing up under pressure.
Like hitting the reset button or maybe just plugging the machine back in to recharge.
The necessary part of keeping the thought.edict system running smoothly.
Okay, so managing tasks, decluttering, saying no, recharging. Let's zoom out a bit. What about personal development in this whole framework?
Well, if we think about personal development, like the Wikipedia entry defined it this ongoing process of improving skills potential.
It's like updating the thought.edict software itself, right?
Exactly. You're installing upgrades, patching bugs, trying to make the whole operating system more effective.
And something like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that sounds like optimizing the core system.
Precisely. Those habits proactivity, beginning with the end in mind. Putting first things first. They're about setting up the fundamental operating principles so everything else runs better.
And what about that growth mindset idea from the Mindset book?
That feels like a really crucial software update. It changes how the system responds to errors or challenges.
Instead of crashing, it learns.
Yeah. It sees setbacks not as failures, but as data. Opportunities to learn, adapt, and improve the code. It builds resilience into the system.
So the system gets stronger over time through use, not just worn out.
And the Wikipedia entry also made a point about meaningful accomplishments being key for genuine development, not just temporary fixes.
Right, like feeling good isn't the same as actually being better or more capable.
Exactly. Those positive illusions might be like a temporary performance boost, but they don't upgrade the fundamental system. Real development, lasting change.
It takes time.
It takes time and consistent effort. That idea of successive approximation from cognitive behavioral psychology fits here. Small incremental updates that gradually lead to significant, sustainable improvements in your mental OS.
So it's a process. Not a one-click install.
Definitely not.
Okay. So we've really run with this metaphor today. Mind as a computer, thoughts as tasks, habits as background apps, all competing for limited energy and attention.
And hopefully understanding the brain's adaptability, how habits work, and these management strategies gives people more tools to become better operators of their own internal task manager.
Making a look under the hood, basically.
Yeah.
Seeing what's actually running.
Yeah. And just like you might check your computer's task manager sometimes to see what's slowing it down, it's worth doing that mentally.
Taking a moment to reflect. What apps are open right now? What's running silently in the background?
And asking yourself, is this really serving me? Or is it just draining my battery?
That's really the core of it, isn't it? Becoming conscious of what's running and then making deliberate choices. Closing down what needs to be closed.
Making those intentional choices about where your energy goes.
So as everyone listening thinks about their own mental dashboard, their own internal landscape, here's the final thought for today.
Which task?
Which task do you need to end right now?